Hey, welcome to your video practice test on fractions. Hope you remember how to do this. You have to pause the presentation, write the problem down and have a go, and then I'm going to scroll on, and when you're ready, you pause the presentation for the next set of questions and go right through to the end. That's only 3 questions in this one. And then if you roll the video after that, you can watch me go through the solutions and explain what's going on and mark your work. Okay, so start here now with this pause screen and write down the problems, and I'm going to now scroll down and go to the next one, the next screen here, and see what you think. Okay, so here we go. Right, your next set of questions, so pause it there. I'm going to go on now. Here's a bit of a puzzle question, slightly different one, this one. And then in the last question, question 3's got 2 parts. Part A. And here's part B. All right, how do you think you went? All right, check your work now, and I'm going to go back and show you how to do each of the problems now. So back to the beginning. All right, here we are, fractions practice test. Oh, got to write your name on it, so better write my name up here. Okay, howdy there. All right, now evaluate the following. Now evaluate, this word here means to find the value of. So I'm going to write these fractions down and see if we can find the value of 3/4 plus 2/3. Okay, now this is like, hey, 3/4 and 2/3, they're different from each other. It's like saying, what's 3 cats plus 2 dogs? Can't do that. We're going to have to change them to the same sort of units, if you like. So, is there something we can change quarters to and thirds to? Let's look at the lowest common multiple. So let's look at the number 4. If I multiply it by 1, that's the first multiple. 1's 4 is 4. 2 4's are 8. 3 4's are 12. Now, if I had 12s there, I could make the 12 is the third multiple of 4. 3 4's are 12. But also, it's a common multiple. Over here, it's the fourth multiple of 3. 4 3's are 12. So they'll both, 4 and 3 will both go into 12s. So let's make 3/4 12s. Now, I'm going to have to multiply that bottom line, that denominator, by 3 to make 12. Now, with a fraction, you know that to keep the balance or equivalence of the fraction, we have to multiply the top line by the same number. So 3/4 is the same as 9/12. Okay, and let's do the same here with thirds to make them 12s. What do I multiply 3 by? I have to multiply that by 4. Now, to keep the balance of the fraction, I'll have to multiply the top line by 4. So that's 8/12. And I'm going to add them up. Can I add them now? Yeah, wow, that's good, because I've got 9/12 and 8/12. They're the same thing. 9 dogs plus 8 dogs is 17 dogs, if you like, or 17/12. Okay, can we go further with this one? Yes, we can, because you've got 17, a number bigger than 12 on the top line, but that means you've got more than 12/12. Now, 12/12 is 1. So if we put 1 down there, that takes out 12 of those 17/12. And there are 5 over, aren't there? 17/12 is 1 lot of 12/12, which is 1 whole unit, and 5/12 over. So our full answer would be 1 and 5/12. Now, let's see what the mark scheme would be for this. Now, there's going to be 1 mark for changing each of them to 12ths and 1 mark for totaling them. This is what you should have down the bottom here, but if you didn't go that far, we won't penalise you this time. Okay, so you've got to get to the line of 17/12 for 2 marks. Now, you don't need to put all of this in if you don't want to. Okay, that's just showing you how to do it. But you should put these equal signs down here, those equal signs, to show your mathematical argument of what you're doing there. Okay, let's have a look at this next question now. What have we got? We've got 2/3 And this time we're taking away 1/5. Excuse me. Does that change your method, the idea of taking? No, it's the same idea. We've got 2/3 take 1/5. Well, they're not the same as each other. Like seeing 2 dogs take 1 cat. So can we again change this problem so that the 2 fractions are out of the same thing, or are the same unit, if you like? So let's do multiples again. Take the highest number here, 5, and multiples of it. 1's 5 is 5, 2 5 is 10, 3 5s are 15. Now 15 is also a multiple of 3. So let's change them to 15ths. What would I do to 3 to make 15? I'd times it by 5. I would do the same thing to the 2. 5 2s are 10. And then take, now let's have a look at this one here, 5 in here. What will I do to make the units the same? 15ths. So I'll multiply it by 3. And I'll have to multiply its top line by 3. And 3 1s are 3. So now we have got common units. 10 15ths take 3 15ths is 7 15ths. And on this one, no further work to do because the 7 is less than 15, so you haven't got any whole units hidden in there, if you like. So there's 1 for changing them to the common denominator and 1 for the final answer. So I hope you're getting some marks here. All right, let's look at the next one. I see a difference here. What's this 2 and 1/3 business going on there? Let's have a look at that, because that's what's called a mixed number. It's a whole number and a fractional part there with it, 2 and 1/3. Well, it's the same idea, but we better change this to an ordinary fraction here, first of all. So let's look at the 2. 1 unit is 3/3. So 2 units would be 6/3. And that 1/3 up the top here would be 7/3. Now, do you remember that? You've got to change that whole number into thirds. Just remembering, 1 is 3/3. 3 out of 3 is 1, 3 over 3. So 2 units would be 6 over 3 plus the other third up here, 1 more third, which is 7 over 3. So this problem's going to equal 7/3 take 5/9. So there's a first step in there. So I hope you remembered that one. You might have to go back and revise that. Now, we need a common multiple here. Let's look at the denominators. Oh, hang on, 9 is 3 3s already. So we could change 7/3, take 5/9 just straight away to 9ths, because 3 times 3 is 9, times the 7 by 3, 21 over 9. And the other one's already 9, so that's a nice one there. We had one of the denominators, the 9, was already a multiple of the other number, so we didn't have to do anything to the second one there. So now we have 21/9 take 5/9. 21 take 5 is 16/9. And again, because the top is larger than the bottom, that means we've got 9/9, that's 1. And how many left over from 16? 16 take 9 is 7. So it's 1 7/9. So this one looks a bit different. So there's 1 mark for changing to here. That is a mixed number 2 1/3 to change it to 7 over 3. And then 1 for this answer here. You really should have this, but we're not penalising changing it to a mixed number at the end. But just note now, with these asterisks here, the simplest form in fraction land for a top-heavy fraction like 16 or improper fraction where the top line is bigger than the bottom line is the mixed number form. This is deemed to be the simplest form, so you really should go to that. Okay, let's have a look at the last one now. 1 1/4, 1 1/4 plus 2 1/5. Oh, 2 mixed numbers. So we've got to change both of them to fractions so that we can use the same idea as before, making the 2 fractions the same sort of units and then adding or subtracting them. Okay, so here 1 1/4. Now 1 whole is equal to 4/4. plus 1/4 is 5/4 or 5/4. So the idea of changing a mixed number, here it is again, 2 units. Now 1 unit is 5 out of 5 or 5/5. 2 units would be 10/5, and you've got another fifth, so you've got a total number of fifths there of 11/5. Okay, so that's your first job. Now what we're going to do is take the biggest number, 5, and work out multiples of it. Okay, 1's 5, 2 5s, etc. Well, we can see what's going to happen. We want 4 5s is 20, because that's a multiple of 4 as well. So let's try to change them both into 20ths. So what do you do to 4 to change it to 20? Times by 5. Do the same to the top line. That's 25 20ths. And here, multiply the bottom line by 4, and you have to multiply the top line by 4. Fairly commonsensical if you think about it, that you're trying to make them the same units, so that 25 20ths plus 44 20ths is going to be 69 20ths. There we are, 69 20ths. They're the same units now. Get the idea. In addition and subtraction of fractions, you must make the denominators the same. You can't add up dogs and cats, can you? Okay, let's have a look. This number's bigger now. Now, how many 20s in 69? Well, 3 20s, so you've got 3 units. 3 20s are 60, and 9 left over. Okay. Again, this is optional to here. So the marker is 4, or the marks are 4. Sorry, I'll just scrub that a little bit out there. The marks are 4, changing that one to a improper fraction. So it's not both of them are not mixed numbers now. So changing to that, and then getting them into 20ths and adding them. So it's down to there. So that's a bit skinny, that one. That one was probably worth a little bit more than 2 marks. Anyway, the total is 8 marks, 2 for each of them. Okay, with the second 2, C and D, being a bit harder to get the marks for those. A bit more work there. Okay, so I hope you got a few marks there. Anyway, go back over it and just check that you see what I'm doing there. And the second set of questions in question 1 on multiplication and division of fractions. So let's have a look now. So we've got 4 5ths, 4 7ths times 3 5ths. Okay, so the idea here, if you remember the rule, is that the tops together, or the numerators together, 4 times 3 is 12. Over the bottoms together, 7 5s are 35. Okay, so that's an easy couple of marks there. 1 for the top line, 1 for the bottom line. Let's look at this one over here. 6 5ths times 5 12ths. Now, there's a couple of ways of doing this. Let's just do it by the rule. 6 times 5 is 30, over 5 times 12 is 60, and then you might see 30 in itself goes once, into 60 it goes twice, so it's 1/2 is the simplest form. Okay, so 1 mark for that, 1 mark for simplifying it. Now, I wonder if anybody saw the quicker way of doing it. Let's write it again down here. 6 over 5 takes 5 over 12, multiplied by 5 over 12, sorry. So here you can say you're allowed to divide top and bottom of a fraction by the same number, and it doesn't change the meaning. So treating this as one big fraction, 5 into 5 goes once, 5 into 5 goes once. You've got to do the same to top and bottom line. And then 6 into 6 goes once, 6 into 12 goes twice. So now it's left here 1 by 1 is 1, and in the bottom 1 by 2 is 2. So that might be a slightly quicker way, using cancelling, dividing top and bottom of a fraction by the same thing. That might be a quicker way of getting to 1/2. All right, so I hope you're getting some marks now. Let's have a look at this one. Well, we knew that was going to come up. Have to change 1 1/7 into a fraction before we do the operations. Now, do you remember how to do this? So this is 1 1/7. So the 1 is 7 7ths. Plus the 1/7, this is 8 7ths, divided by 5/14. Now, division of fractions is interesting. We talked about how this works, but the rule is 8/7 divided by 5/14, you multiply by 14/5. And we discussed the mathematics of that. Now, we don't have to go into that here. You must apply the rule accurately. So let's have a look now. Now, this is definitely one where it wouldn't be a good idea to do this multiplication of the numerators or the top lines together first. Look at this. 7 into 7 goes once. 7 into 14 goes twice. So 8 times 2 is 16/5, which is, how many 5s in 16? 3 5s of 15. So I've got 3 whole units, 3 5s of 15, and 1 over. Now, we won't worry about doing that step here. So what is there? There's going to be 1 mark for changing the mixed number, and then 1 mark for this and 1 mark for that answer there, 3 marks. Now, if you did up the top there, do this, 8/7 times 14/5, then what you would get is 8 times 14 is 112/35. Okay, so we'll give you the 3 marks for that, but you really should then cancel this down and divide top and bottom by a common factor. Okay, and the common factor here would be 7, of course, as we cancelled up there. So there are the 3 marks for that question. So I hope you're getting some. So these last two, this question and this question, are both worth 3 marks, giving you a total of 10. All right, let's look at the first part of this one now. 2 1/4. So we've got the same thing now. 2 1/4 divided by 3 2/3. So changing the mixed numbers, so 2 units. 1 unit is 4/4. 2 units are 8/4, and that 1/4 or 1/4 is 9/4 or 9/4. Okay, and divided, let's just do one thing at a time, and that's changing these mixed numbers. So 3, now 1 unit is 3/3. 3 units would therefore be 9/3, and that 2 there is 11/3. Okay, so you might have to go back and revise changing mixed numbers to fractions. So we've done that step there. Now we're going to say, how do you divide fractions? You multiply by the reciprocal or the inverse of this one, turning it upside down. Okay, so you've got to remember that rule. Now, what are we going to do? Multiply the numerators together, 27, and multiply the denominators together, 44. So that's our answer then. So there is, 1 mark for changing the 2 mixed numbers to fractions, 1 mark for remembering to change division to multiplication by reciprocal or the inverse, or flip it upside down if you like, and then 1 mark for the actual answer. So there's a total there of 10 marks. Okay, how are you going there? It's interesting stuff, isn't it? You've got to remember the rules, though. That's the problem. Need to remember the rules. All right, let's have a look at question 2. Question 2 was sort of using fractions in a problem-solving idea. So when you're doing a worded question, so that you don't suffer from mathematical indigestion, that is, too many words confusing your brain, it's a good idea to underline key features here. So here we are. Sue ate 1/4 of a cake and Sally ate 2/5. How much of the cake remained? Well, don't worry about remained. That's a problem, isn't it? Let's worry about what they ate. They ate, 1/4 plus 2/5. Let's do that first. So 1/4 plus 2/5, common denominator now will be 20ths. Okay, so we're going to change both of them to 20ths so we can add them up. Now 4's been multiplied by 5. We're going to multiply its top line by 5 to keep the balance of the fraction. And 5 is to be multiplied by 4 to make the 20. And we'll multiply the 2 by 4. That's the idea. So we have now got 5/20ths plus 8/20ths is 13/20ths. So they ate 13/20ths. So what remained, just notice that, therefore we can say remaining is, now 13's gone out of 20. What's left from the whole, 20/20ths, is 7/20ths. 20 take 13 is 7. So remaining is 7/20ths of the cake. Now, when you have a problem like this, we've done this before, it's important that you write the answer to the question, okay, not just put down 7/20ths. They've asked you a question, how much of the cake remained? So you state the answer, 7/20ths remained, okay. Make a complete story of it. So here there is 1 mark for trying to put those down, that you're trying to add them up, 1 mark for the correct addition, and then 1 mark for taking away from the whole, because it said how much is left, not how much did they eat. So, okay. Let's have a look. Question 3 now. Question 3 is a bit of a puzzle question. It says, a teacher is going to give the class prizes of chocolate frogs. Oh, I wonder who that teacher is. 3 people have answered parts of a set of questions. Student A answered, now I think we better underline this, 2/5. B answered 1/3, and C answered 1/4. What total fraction of the set of questions has the group answered? So the total fraction would be equal to the underlined ones, 2/5 plus 1/3 plus 1/4. Oh, we got 3 in a row now. So we're still going to have to use the common denominator idea and the lowest common multiple. So let's start with 5. 2 5s are 10, 3 5s are 15, 4 5s are 20. No, that's not a common multiple of these 2 as well. 5 5s are 25, 6 5s are 30, 7 5s are 35. Checking. These 2 have to go into the multiple. 8 5s are 40. That 4 will go into it, 3 won't. 9 5s are 45. 10 5s are 50. 11 5s are 55. No. 12 5s are 60. There's one. How did I know? I kept going until I got to 60. Well, 60 is a multiple of 3. 20 times 3 is 60. And 60 is a multiple of 4. 15 times 4 is 60. So in the end, what do I end up doing? Multiplying them all together to get 60. Okay, so I'm going to actually make them all 60ths. The common sort of unit there, or denominator, if you like. Okay, so that's 60. All right. So, doing it again. How do I change 5 into 60? Multiply by 12. So 12 2s, still by 12 there, is 24. 3, how do I make it into 60ths? Times by 20. Multiply the top line by 20. That's 20 60ths. This one I've got to multiply by 15. So I multiply its numerator by 15. Okay, so now they're all the same, and we can add them up. 24 and 20 is 44, and 15 is 59. So 59 60ths. What fraction of the total set has a group answered? 59 60ths. Okay, so 59 60ths of the questions have been answered. Okay, what's the mark scheme here? That one for realising you had to add up those fractions. That one for changing your 60ths, and that one for getting an answer. 59 60ths of the total question set have been answered. All right, so what's the second little bit here? Let's just go down and have a look. And that is, how many frogs will the teacher need if he splits them up according to the number of questions answered by the group and only gives out whole frogs? Okay, right, 59 60ths. Well, 59 60ths of the questions. So 59 60ths, it suggests there might have been 60 questions if they each only answered one. So there's a few little thinking things here. So to get 59/60ths of something, got to be divided by 60. So if the teacher gives a frog to each question, we're going to say there'd have to be a minimum of 59 frogs. 59 frogs, a frog for each question. We don't know that there's 60 questions, but the number of questions has to be divided up according to those fractions. So that's going to be at least 60. Okay, so 59 frogs. So maybe you should have said, what's the minimum number of frogs? Will there be any left? Yes. One frog would be left over. One frog left. So 59 and 1 are the last 2 marks. Okay, well, how did you go? I hope you got a few marks there. I think the total was, in the end, let's come up to the top now. I think the total was supposed to be 26 marks. So what did you get out of 26? Okay. Hope you did well. Now, check your work. Think about the ones that you got wrong. Go back over and see me do them again. And then go back to your exercises that we've had before and pick some from there to practice. Okay, ready for the real test. Good luck with that. Cheers for now.